My topic here is paradigms of well-being. And when I ask you what well-being is, what do you usually think of? I'm pretty sure you think of the types of well-being. Physical well-being, mental well-being, psychological well-being, etc. There's too many to count. When I think of well-being, I think of the perspectives on well-being, hence expressing of emotions. Emotions can be seen as many different things, right? I want you to think of your mind as a stuffed animal. Any stuffed animal of your choice. Think of something from your childhood. And for those of you who do not think of a stuffed animal, I want you to relive your youth. I want you to go back in time, think of any stuffed animal. I personally think of a teddy bear. So that teddy bear is going to be your mind. And the stuff, the content inside that teddy bear, that is going to be your suppressed emotions. So ask yourself, every single day, how big is that teddy bear going to be today? How many emotions have I suppressed? Last year, I would have said a lot. My teddy bear would be taller than me. But this year, it's probably just knee height. I'm telling you, I'm still learning. I'm still learning to let go, bit by bit. And the fact that just last year, during this TED event, I was in the audience with you people. Imagine, I've come so far away that I am probably speaking in front of all of you, looking at you in the eyes, right? So, I want you to imagine all of this in your head and ask yourself, every single day, have I nailed this? N stands for needy, A stands for anxious, I stands for inadequate, L stands for lonely, E stands for exposed, D stands for depleted. Ask yourself, am I feeling needy? Am I feeling anxious? Why am I feeling anxious? What made me feel that? And when you can finally answer each of these difficult questions, that's when I can tell you, you have given yourself the chance to grow. Here's the contradicting statement that I've heard one too many times. First impression matters, but at the same time, don't judge a book by its cover. How does that make sense? If I saw someone crying across the hallway, if someone was crying there, I would probably feel bad for them. I would feel pity for them. And it's a knee-jerk reaction of mine to think they're weak. Wrong. Completely wrong. They're not weak. They're actually really strong for giving themselves the opportunity to grow. So next time you see someone like that, smile up at them and help to comfort them. Help them to grow. In this world, and especially in this generation, to the people who smile the most sincerely, those are the people who have cried the most behind closed doors. Laughing. Laughing is truly contagious. If one of my friends laughed along with me, I would be laughing in a matter of seconds. Probably like a monkey, but it's fine. Only they have the right to judge me anyways. Laughing, it's a beautiful sound, no matter how weird others think it is. I want you to imagine this myth in your head. It's called a heart myth, where your heart is a wild beast. It's beating in your ribcage, and your ribcage is a cage that's keeping your beating heart inside. So ask yourself, my heart is beating for me every single day, so why can't I smile every single day? If your heart didn't pound for you, you wouldn't be here. So when you think of it like that, it's really beautiful to know that your smile gives your heart a little bit of reprieve. It's like motivation for your heart to keep on beating. Actually, smiling can change your attitude towards a person as well. Smiling, laughing, the way you talk to a person. Let's give you a personal experience. I met this friend a long time ago. We both lost contact. Recently, through SMS, text messages, phone calls, we both got back into contact again. Let's call this person Sushi, because that's the first thing on my mind right now. So Sushi and I, we both got back into contact. We started talking each day. We had fun talking. And after listening to all of their experiences and every milestone that they've passed, I finally understand what everyone says when they say a person who has passed so many hurdles in life, they must be really well guarded. So I thought, well, Sushi must be well guarded and placid and not easy to talk to. In fact, that was the complete opposite. One day I had the courage to call them. We phone called and we talked. Before, I wouldn't tell them everything, but after we talked for a few minutes, after they laughed at everything I said, I finally had the courage to tell them what was happening, tell them what was going on in my life. Because it's easier to talk to a person who smiles and laughs that much. If I laughed, would you want to come talk to me? I hope so. Crying. Crying is perceived as a weak thing, something only little babies do usually. But crying is actually really helpful for you, scientifically as well. Crying releases oxytocins and endorphins, which release your emotional and physical burden at least a bit. So cry as often as you can, even if it means just in your bathroom. That's fine as well. Also, crying makes you feel 10 times better at the end. So trust me, it's worth it. Being a dark storm cloud isn't necessarily easy. I used to be very placid. I wouldn't talk to that many people before. But in fact, when I walked into a room, people would whisper about me. I wasn't really a really approachable person, and I let that get to my head. But in fact, the truth is, I was a gregarious person. I was so fun to talk to, at least in my opinion. I laughed at everything. I spoke to people, but when I mean people, I mean a small friend circle that is probably closer than this entire room. Here's a story that I want you to think about as I speak. This story is about a boy who gave himself the chance to grow, willingly or unwillingly. So this boy, he was a bubbly kind of boy, the golden retriever kind. Everyone loved him. You would too. But due to some accident during his childhood, his mother lost an unborn child, which technically means miscarriage, which led to him having a lot of emotional scars. And that made him become the shadow of the man he was before. He closed himself off from everyone, and his mind became a maze that even he couldn't navigate. Imagine having like 47 open tabs and each of them blasting different music. Would you be able to concentrate? No, I wouldn't. So time rolls around, time flies, and graduation comes. So he graduates, and he realizes, I began my schooling with tons of friends. At the end of my school days, I don't even have friends to take pictures with. As a result of that, he decided, I want to catch up with people. I want to meet more people. I want to become friends with my old friends again. And so they unwillingly let him join on a meeting. They had a meeting, old friends. They just met up and they talked for a while. They caught up. How's your life? How's your job? All of that. He went, and he knew he was a second choice. Imagine knowing that you're the second choice, only because someone else wasn't there, they called you. When you think of it like that, that's truly sad. But there was this one person who willingly came to talk to him. It was this girl. And this girl told him, I understand what you're going through. I may not know what happened in your past, but I know what you're going through now. And I know someone who can help you. So if you ever decide to give yourself the chance to grow, please come to this person. And she gave him a phone number, an address, all of that. And he told himself, well, I'm not really going to do this, am I? But when he goes home, he starts to think, deep thinking. Imagine thinking for hours on end, thinking before you go to bed. And he realized, well, I actually do want to become a better person. So why not? Doesn't hurt to try. So he goes, talks to this therapist. It turns out to be a therapist, right? And this therapist tells him, well, you go on, I'll listen. And in this world, where people don't listen that much, it was really therapeutic to let someone listen to everything he had to say without judgment, because that's what a therapist is for. And this therapist, after listening, he told him, I understand what you're going through, and I see why you've become this kind of person. And I have an idea about how to help you become better. And so he told him, your brain needs to become nurtured. In order to let your brain grow, it needs to be watered. And by water, I don't mean actual water. I mean with things that help your mind grow. When you want to learn how to read, write a different language, you would probably have to learn the alphabet first. So when you want to learn your emotions, you actually need to learn the functions of those emotions, why those emotions come to you and when they come to you. And the best technique, in my opinion at least, is books. Books, books, and books. Those are my entire lifeline. I would not survive without books at this point. And so the therapist told him, let's try this technique. It's called purgation. I want you to purge your emotions as much as possible through books. Read books that make you cry. Read books that make you laugh out loud. Read books that make you want to rip out the pages. As a bookworm, I suggest not to do that. But if it helps, sure. And so he started to read. He became a man, from a boy to a man in a short span of time. He became a better person. He started to feel the words. He started to feel the emotion behind those words. And I know many of you just skim words and stuff, but I, as a bookworm, I read every single word. And the fact that the reason I'm up here is because of those books isn't very surprising at this point. So he starts to write as well, because he was inspired by it. He wanted to write more. So he began writing. He began writing about everything that he's been through. And he brought his sister, his dead sister, back to life through his words. She was either the main character, the side character, or any character. But he imagined her to be a wonderful woman. And that's how he wrote her. When you think of it, he has passed so many milestones. He has passed so many hurdles in his life. So why can't you? You could if you tried to. Don't be sad yet. His story just ended. But there's one more to go. A while ago, I saw this boy holding court in front of, let's say, 20 different people. And they were all old. This boy was like around 6 to 7 years old. And he told them, my dad once told me, that when life gets hard, you need to persevere. Or that's what they thought. But in reality, what he actually said was, you can't control the wind, but you can control the direction of your sails. Everyone thought of different things. But the boy explained to them, whatever you're thinking is wrong. What I mean to say is, it's not the problem that matters. It matters how you react to that problem. And I'm sure many of you, when you encounter problems, you want to cry or you want to laugh about it because it sounds so silly. Just do that. But as soon as it's over, start thinking of actual solutions. Here's a few books that made me feel emotions. One of them was about these two patients, cancer patients, who experienced pains in different aspects. They knew their days were numbered, and yet they felt so much. They found solace within each other, and they became better in each other's presence. And I got really attached to these characters. I loved them so deeply that when one of them died, I stayed in bed for days, longer than I have for anything else. My bed became my best friend for those few moments. I'm sure my best friend wouldn't agree, but still, it's fine. The second book that I'd like to say is about these two different characters. These two different characters who are in total different worlds. This is fantasy related, right? So these two characters, when they finally meet each other, they understand the point of living because the other lives a whole different way of life. So when they told each other, you make me want to live, not just exist, I understood that because many of you, everyone watching, you probably don't know the difference between existing and living. Same thing, you don't know the difference between alone and being lonely. So after a while, what do you think is well-being? After listening to my speech, honestly, do you think you understand? I hope you do. So here's something that I want you to think of again. This is a smartphone in your head, just a smartphone, a completely different smartphone, something that you're probably holding in your hand right now. That smartphone is going to be your mind. And the apps each have a different function, right? Same thing with your emotions. Your emotions have each a different function, they have different use, they have different priorities, and some take a long while to load, some take a long while to close. Same thing with life. And what you don't realize is there are keys to those apps. There is passwords to those apps. You don't know there are passwords until you hit a brick wall. And to come over those brick walls, I have the perfect solution. Emotional journaling. That sounds pretty boring, right? As a person who cannot stay consistent, I overslept my alarm this morning. So when you think of it like that, I'm not consistent, which is why I say journaling, not diary. Journaling where you write something every week or something. Just 2 words, or anything that comes to your mind to do with your emotions. For example, a journal entry could say, this morning I read this book and it made me cry so hard I thought a dam was breaking in my head. Or something similar. The next week you could write, my friend told me this joke that made me laugh out so loud I thought my skull was gonna crack. These small tiny notes are really helpful because when you go back in time, when you look back, you will notice, oh wow, I felt this much. I can finally be proud of myself to feel this much. And you know that these are the keys to feeling any emotion that you want to. I've noticed this as well, that people need a reason to feel something. Sometimes I just want to cry, no questions asked. I just actually do want to cry. I don't have an actual valid reason, I just do. It's just a feeling that I have deep inside when there's a lump in my throat and I don't know how exactly to let it out. And I'm scared that if I cry in the corner of my room, my mom's gonna come ask me, Aashithaa, why are you crying? Or what made you cry? And it's really hard to answer all those questions when I'm knee-deep in tears. So just use emotional journaling. If someone asks, you can just say, okay, I read this book and it made me cry. You have a cry and give others a reason to cry as well. So give yourself an opportunity to look at the world through either your tears or let the world see you and your tears as well. So just tell yourself that when all of this is over, when you pass all of your milestones and hurdles, ask yourself, am I truly ready to go on to my next milestone? I hope you are. Because my next milestone is to become a billionaire with a capital B. So let's hope you are ready as well. Thank you for listening.